Jack Collins clutched his worn leather bag over his shoulder and hurried toward the parking lot, tears blurring his vision and hands trembling. The interview had been a complete disaster. His phone had rung loudly when his daughter Lily's school called about her asthma attack, coffee had spilled on his tie, and now this final humiliation of being practically escorted out by security. He had one chance, one interview, to turn his life around, and he'd blown it. As he fumbled with his keys, he never noticed the tall figure racing after him, shouting his name, or how this moment would change everything. If you're moved by stories of second chances and unexpected kindness, hit that like button and subscribe now. Life can change in an instant, just like it did for Jack, and you won't want to miss what happens next in this incredible story. The morning had started like any other in the Collins household, chaotic, noisy, and perpetually running behind schedule. Jack stood in the kitchen of their small apartment, simultaneously flipping pancakes, ironing his only decent dress shirt, and helping his 8-year-old daughter Lily with her math homework. "Daddy, I don't feel so good," Lily said, her small voice barely audible over the sizzle of the pancakes and the hiss of the iron. Jack glanced at his daughter, noting the slight flush in her cheeks. He pressed the back of his hand to her forehead. "No fever, sweetie. It's probably just nerves about your science presentation today. You're going to do great." Lily nodded uncertainly, but the worry in her eyes didn't fade. Jack wished he could stay home with her, but today was too important. After 8 months of unemployment, countless rejections, and a bank account approaching zero, he'd finally landed an interview at Horizon Technologies, one of the most prestigious tech companies in the city. "Mrs. Garcia will pick you up after school, okay? I might be a little late tonight." He knelt down to her level, straightening her glasses. "This job would change everything for us, Lily. No more macaroni and cheese for dinner 4 nights a week." "I like macaroni and cheese," Lily said with a small smile. Jack laughed, ruffling her hair. "That's because you're 8. Now go brush your teeth while I finish these pancakes." As Lily disappeared down the hallway, Jack allowed his smile to fall. The truth was far more dire than he let on to his daughter. Their rent was 2 months overdue, the electricity had been shut off twice in the past year, and the medical bills from his late wife's cancer treatment still arrived with alarming regularity, each envelope stamped with increasingly threatening language. Since Sarah's death 3 years ago, Jack had been both mother and father to Lily, juggling his career as a software developer with the demands of single parenthood. He'd been doing well at his previous company until the massive layoffs hit. Being a single parent with a child who needed occasional time off for doctor's appointments had made him an easy target for downsizing. The Horizon interview was his last hope. The position paid nearly double his previous salary, offered comprehensive health insurance that would cover Lily's asthma treatments, and even had flexible hours for parents. It was perfect. Almost too perfect to be true. Jack checked his watch and cursed under his breath. He was cutting it close. "Lily. We need to leave in 5 minutes." The morning commute was a blur of traffic, Lily's chatter about her science project, and Jack mentally rehearsing interview answers. He dropped Lily off at school with a quick kiss and a promise that tomorrow would be better, that soon, things would be better. As he navigated toward the gleaming Horizon Technologies headquarters, Jack's stomach churned with anxiety. The imposing glass building seemed to touch the clouds, a physical manifestation of how far out of reach this opportunity might be. He parked his 15-year-old car in the visitor section, painfully aware of how it looked next to the luxury vehicles surrounding it. In the reflection of his rearview mirror, Jack straightened his tie, the same one he'd worn to Sarah's funeral, and took a deep breath. "You can do this," he whispered to himself. "For Lily. The lobby of Horizon Technologies was a marvel of modern architecture, all sleek lines, polished surfaces, and subtle lighting. Jack approached the reception desk, conscious of his scuffed shoes against the immaculate marble floor. "Jack Collins, I have an interview with HR at 10 a.m., he said, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. The receptionist smiled professionally. "Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." Jack sat rigidly on the edge of a designer chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. He reviewed his portfolio one last time, making sure his certifications and project samples were in order. His resume looked thin after the employment gap, but he hoped his previous accomplishments and the additional courses he'd taken during his unemployment would compensate. "Mr. Collins?" A polished woman in a tailored suit appeared. "I'm Allison Parker from Human Resources. Please follow me." The interview began smoothly enough. Jack explained his background, his expertise in software development, and his passion for innovative solutions. Allison seemed impressed by his technical knowledge, nodding approvingly as he described his previous projects. Then came the dreaded question, "I notice a significant gap in your employment history. Can you explain that?" Jack swallowed hard. "After my previous position was eliminated, I took some time to update my skills and certifications. I've completed several advanced courses in the latest programming languages and..." His phone buzzed loudly in his pocket. Jack apologized and quickly silenced it without looking. "I'm sorry about that. As I was saying..." The phone buzzed again. And again. Whoever was calling was persistent. "Perhaps you should check that," Allison suggested, her smile tightening. "It seems urgent." Mortified, Jack glanced at his phone. Lily's school. His heart dropped. "I'm so sorry, but I need to take this. It's my daughter's school." Without waiting for permission, he answered. "Hello?" The school nurse's voice was calm but serious. "Mr. Collins, Lily is having an asthma attack. We've administered her rescue inhaler, but she's not responding as well as we'd like. You need to come right away." Jack's world narrowed to a pinpoint. "I'll be there in 20 minutes." He ended the call and looked up at Allison, whose expression had shifted from annoyance to concern. "I'm terribly sorry, but I have a family emergency. My daughter." "Of course," Allison said, but her tone suggested the interview was effectively over. "Family comes first. We can reschedule." But Jack knew what reschedule meant in interview language. His chance was gone. As he stood to leave, his portfolio slipped from his lap, scattering papers across the floor. In his haste to gather them, he knocked over his coffee cup, sending the dark liquid cascading across the pristine white table and onto his tie. "I'm so sorry," he mumbled, frantically dabbing at the mess with tissues. "It's fine," Allison said, though her expression said otherwise. "Let me walk you out." The walk through the office felt like a walk of shame. Employees in expensive suits watched as the coffee-stained, disheveled man was escorted toward the exit. Jack kept his eyes fixed on the floor, humiliation burning in his chest. As they reached the lobby, a commotion near the reception desk caught their attention. A group of executives had emerged from the elevator, surrounding a tall man in a casual but clearly expensive suit. Unlike the others, who wore expressions of practiced importance, this man radiated genuine authority. "That's Nathan Brooks, our CEO," Allison whispered, her tone reverent. "He rarely comes to this office." Jack nodded politely, but his mind was already racing ahead to Lily. He needed to get to her now. "Thank you for the opportunity," he said to Allison, extending his hand. I understand if you need to move forward with other candidates. Allison's handshake was brief. We'll be in touch. They both knew they wouldn't be. As Jack turned to leave, he collided with someone entering the building, causing him to drop his portfolio again. Papers scattered across the marble floor for the second time that day. I'm so sorry, Jack said automatically, kneeling to gather his documents. No harm done, replied a deep voice. Jack looked up to find Nathan Brooks himself helping collect the fallen papers. The CEO handed him a stack of documents with a curious expression. Rough day? Brooks asked, noticing the coffee stain. Jack managed a weak smile. You could say that. Excuse me, but I really need to go. My daughter. Of course, Brooks said, stepping aside. Jack hurried out of the building, the weight of failure heavy on his shoulders. He'd blown his one chance at financial stability, at giving Lily the life she deserved. As he rushed across the parking garage toward his car, he allowed the tears he'd been holding back to finally fall. He was so focused on getting to Lily that he didn't hear the footsteps behind him or the voice calling his name. It wasn't until a hand touched his shoulder that Jack realized he wasn't alone. He turned to find Nathan Brooks, slightly out of breath, standing before him. Mr. Collins, Brooks said. I'm glad I caught you. Jack blinked in confusion. Mr. Brooks? I don't understand. You dropped this, Brooks said, holding out a photograph that had fallen from Jack's portfolio. It was a picture of Lily, grinning widely despite missing her two front teeth, holding up a science fair ribbon. Thank you, Jack said, taking the photo and carefully tucking it away. But you didn't have to chase me down for this. Brooks studied him intently. I also couldn't help but overhear about your daughter. Is she all right? She's having an asthma attack. I need to get to her school. Let me drive you, Brooks offered immediately. My car is right over there, and I have a driver. We'll get through traffic faster than you would alone. Jack stared at him in disbelief. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Brooks's expression softened. Because I was raised by a single father who would have done anything for me, just like you're clearly doing for your daughter. Now, are you coming? In a daze, Jack found himself being ushered into the back seat of a sleek black car. As they pulled out of the parking garage, Brooks made a quick call, instructing someone to clear his schedule for the morning. You don't have to do this, Jack said, overwhelmed by the stranger's kindness. I know I don't have to, Brooks replied simply. Now, tell me about your daughter. During the drive, Jack found himself opening up about Lily, her love of science, her struggle with asthma, how brave she'd been after losing her mother. He even mentioned their financial difficulties, though he hadn't intended to. I really needed that job, he admitted. The medical bills, they just keep coming. Brooks listened without interruption, his expression thoughtful. When they arrived at Lily's school, he insisted on accompanying Jack inside. They found Lily in the nurse's office, her breathing labored but improving. Her face lit up when she saw her father, then shifted to curiosity at the sight of the stranger beside him. Daddy, she wheezed, you came. Of course I came, Jack said, kneeling beside her. I'll always come when you need me. The school nurse explained that Lily was stable but should see her doctor as soon as possible. Jack nodded, mentally calculating if he could afford another specialist visit. As they prepared to leave, Brooks approached Lily with a gentle smile. Hello, Lily. I'm Nathan, a friend of your dad's. He told me you like science. Lily nodded shyly. Me too, Brooks said. In fact, my company does all kinds of cool science stuff. Maybe someday you could visit and see for yourself." Lily's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Brooks confirmed. "But first, let's get you to a doctor." Before Jack could protest, Brooks had arranged for his driver to take them to the city's best pediatric pulmonologist, a doctor whose waiting list was normally months long but who mysteriously had an opening that very afternoon. As they sat in the specialist's waiting room, Jack turned to Brooks. "Why are you doing all this?" Brooks was quiet for a moment. 20 years ago, I was interviewing for a job I desperately needed. My car broke down on the way, and I showed up an hour late, soaking wet from the rain. The interviewer, an old-school CEO named Harrison, took one look at me and should have shown me the door. Instead, he listened to my story and gave me a chance. That job changed my life." He paused. "Sometimes people just need someone to see past the circumstances to who they really are." The doctor confirmed that Lily's asthma needed a more aggressive treatment plan and prescribed new medications. When Jack hesitantly asked about payment, he was told it had been taken care of. Outside the clinic, Brooks's car waited. "I'd like to offer you a ride home," Brooks said. "And I'd like to continue our conversation." During the drive to Jack's apartment, Brooks asked detailed questions about Jack's technical background, his previous projects, and his approach to problem-solving. It felt like an interview, but more natural, more human than any Jack had experienced before. As they pulled up to Jack's modest apartment building, Brooks turned to him with a serious expression. "Horizon Technologies has a new project developing accessible healthcare software. We need someone who understands both the technical aspects and the human side of healthcare. Someone who can build systems that actually help people navigate the complexities of medical care." He paused. "I think you'd be perfect for it." Jack stared at him in disbelief. "Are you offering me a job?" "I am," Brooks confirmed. "With a salary that will cover those medical bills, flexible hours so you can be there for Lily, and full benefits starting immediately." He handed Jack a business card. "Come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m., and we'll finalize the details." Jack looked down at the card, then back at Brooks. "I don't understand. You saw me at my worst today. Why would you want to hire me?" Brooks smiled. "Because today I saw a man who prioritizes his daughter above everything, who remains professional even in crisis, and who has overcome significant hardship without losing his dignity or determination. Those are qualities I value far more than a perfect interview or an unstained tie." He extended his hand. "So, do we have a deal?" With tears in his eyes, Jack shook Brooks's hand. "Yes. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to us." "I think I do," Brooks said softly. "My father would be proud to know I'm paying forward the chance I was given." As Brooks's car pulled away, Jack stood on the sidewalk, the business card clutched in his hand, feeling for the first time in years that the weight on his shoulders had lightened. He looked up at their apartment window, where Lily was watching, and gave her a thumbs up. Her delighted smile was everything. 6 months later, Jack stood in the Horizon Technologies lobby, watching as Lily proudly demonstrated her science project to a group of executives. Her asthma was under control with the new treatment plan, and she had blossomed in the company's STEM program for employees' children. Nathan Brooks approached, clapping Jack on the shoulder. "Your healthcare portal design is revolutionizing how patients access their medical information. The board is impressed." Jack smiled. "It's easy to design something well when you understand the need firsthand." Brooks nodded. "That's exactly why I hired you." Sometimes the people who seem least polished in an interview are the ones who bring the most valuable perspective. He glanced at Lily, who was enthusiastically explaining her project. She reminds me of you, brilliant and determined. She's the reason for everything I do, Jack said simply. I know, Brooks replied. And that's what makes you irreplaceable. As Jack watched his daughter shine, he thought about how quickly life could change, how a failed interview had led to the opportunity of a lifetime, how a moment of kindness from a stranger had transformed their future. Sometimes, he realized, what looks like failure is just the beginning of something better than you ever imagined. That night, as Jack tucked Lily into bed, she asked, Daddy, are we going to be okay now? Jack kissed her forehead. Yes, sweetheart. We're going to be more than okay. And for the first time in years, he knew it was absolutely true. 1 year later, Jack stood on the stage at Horizon Technology's annual conference, accepting the Innovation Award for his healthcare management system. The platform he'd designed had already helped thousands of families navigate medical care more easily, reducing costs and improving outcomes. In the front row, Lily beamed with pride, her science fair medal gleaming around her neck. Beside her sat Nathan Brooks, who winked at Jack as he delivered his acceptance speech. Sometimes our greatest setbacks lead to our greatest opportunities, Jack said into the microphone, his voice steady and confident. A year ago, I spilled coffee on my tie during the worst interview of my life. Today, I'm leading a team that's changing healthcare access for families like mine. As applause filled the auditorium, Jack caught Nathan's eye. The CEO nodded, a silent acknowledgement of their shared understanding. Success isn't measured by perfect moments, but by how we handle the imperfect ones. Later that evening, at the celebration dinner, Nathan raised his glass. To Jack Collins, proof that the right person at the wrong time is still the right person. Jack smiled, thinking of how far they'd come. His new home was just 10 minutes from the office, Lily's asthma was well controlled, and for the first time since Sarah's death, he felt true security. As guests mingled around them, Nathan pulled Jack aside. I have something to tell you, he said quietly. The board has approved your healthcare platform for national expansion. We're also creating a foundation to provide the service free to low-income families. Jack was speechless. And, Nathan continued, we want you to lead it. Executive Director, with full autonomy. Why me? Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Nathan smiled. Because you understand what it means to need a second chance. And now you'll be giving thousands of families exactly that. As Jack drove home that night with a sleeping Lily in the back seat, he reflected on how completely his life had transformed. From the brink of financial ruin to helping others overcome similar challenges, all because one person chose to see his worth beyond a failed interview. Sometimes, he realized, the universe has a way of spilling coffee on your tie exactly when you need it most.